Okay, so you want to know how a hot dog, the internet, and Bigfoot blew the Iowa lottery fraud case wide open? Let's hear what Terry Rich, the former CEO of the Iowa lottery, has to say. This is it. You're going to be blown away. Let's talk about the hot dogs in Bigfoot, because I don't think you mentioned that. And so the hot dogs came up in the trial, did they not?
That's right. So as Eddie's being convicted, they decided to have a character witness, and Eddie says, "Well, let's bring up my brother. He's a law enforcement and a justice of the peace in Texas. He can give me a good character witness." Remember, I mentioned the two things that no one couldn't claim anonymous, and that he was in a store. Only 4 stores had audio out of 2,400. He was unlucky enough to go to one audio, and that's what identified him. But the third thing he did, I mean, Eddie's a good, I don't, don't want to disparage him on size, but he's between 300 and 400 pounds is my best
Yeah,
guess.
he's a big guy.
He picked up two hot dogs as part of his purchase. And so when they brought up when he was being found guilty on this first charge, they brought up his brother, and his brother said, "That can't be my brother. He bought hot dogs. Eddie ain't no hot dog guy." Well, everybody looked, boom, guy that weighs 300 pounds isn't a hot dog guy, and you get chuckles. You're not trying to disparage anybody, but the Associated Press thought it was so funny they put it out on the national wire.
Mm-hmm.
That being on the national wire went back to Plutonio, Texas, where Tommy Tipton, Eddie's brother, lived. And there was an FBI or a federal agent that lived there. He said, "Wait a minute, 10 years ago, I investigated that guy for money laundering." And he said that he got the money that he had, all this cash, from a Colorado lottery. I better call that up. So he calls up to Rob Sand, who did a phenomenal job. All the investigators did, but Rob Sand came in late and released the video. But he was just phenomenal, and say, "Hey, you better check Tommy too." So if Eddie hadn't bought the hot dogs, one, we'd have never solved this case. And if Tommy hadn't gotten on the stand and it got back to Texas, so the FBI agent called and said, "You better check Tommy too," with that. But what that did was broke this thing wide open as a federal case. So now we knew it was Eddie and Tommy and Robert Rhodes. Now, what do you suppose the first thing that cops do? You probably know this in fraud busting. So if you're ever doing a fraud, if you're watching us to try to learn what to do to try to avoid it, don't use social media. Because we immediately could connect Eddie Tipton and Robert Rhodes because they both had their social media wide open. Where some of us just put friends or more private, they had a wide open. So we all of a sudden realized that Eddie Tipton worked for Robert Rhodes before he went to work for the multi-state lottery. So ding, 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 that's how we got it all together. So then what did we do? We grabbed Tommy's social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and cell phone records, and we could tell when they were talking, the days that tickets were won, and how much more they talked during those days. In some cases, where they were standing, and so all
Oh,
three of
wow.
them came together. And then guess what? The three of them were asked: "You want to be the witness, or you want to be the defendant?"
Yeah, yeah.
And the
So,
first one to say, "I'll be a defendant," was Robert Rhodes, and then we got all the information to give us the smoking gun information to ultimately find 5 jackpots across the United States.
let's go back to like all these clues are adding up, and just the unusualness of the hot dogs was a big tip, because that's really when it got to be a much bigger, more widely publicized case. So now, how did Bigfoot play into this whole fraud situation?
Say that one more time.
How did Bigfoot play into this whole fraud situation?
So now that we are into and we're checking everything with Tommy, because Tommy was, of course, based in Texas and loved to hunt, we did a press conference that we had announced that we're just checking all the winners across America and cross-tabbing those against all of the friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, and their cell phones.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
that's how we figured out the names. Once we saw a name that a jackpot was one of the states, all that. Well, as we did that, we went in and we had started to have the press conference, say we're going to do this. And the Rob Sand and the DCI, Department of Criminal Investigation, they're giggling in the back room. I mean, this is serious. So we're talking big to me. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're about going international television here. What are you laughing about? And they said, "You can't believe this." Tommy was a Bigfoot hunter. Tommy loved to hunt Bigfoot. And in fact, he recruited the guy to cash in the ticket in Colorado he was a Bigfoot hunter together with Tommy. And he went out and got the money, won the money, he kept 10%, but gave Tommy. Tommy said, hey, I think I may be, this is as I understand it, I may be divorcing my wife, so I want it in cash. Gave it to him in sequential bills. And when he gave it to him in sequential bills, Tommy said, I better do something with this. So he went to a fireworks dealer to kind of launder it, you know, so he wouldn't have sequential bills. And the fireworks dealer got scared and contacted the federal agent, which of course contacted us down the road. So if he hadn't had a Bigfoot hunter friend, he would have been in trouble. But the funny part of all of that is when the FBI interviewed him to find out about Colorado, he had just broken a whole bunch of bones by falling out of a tree stand, either in Louisiana or Texas, hunting Bigfoot. And so he's a little bit under the morphine drip and spilled his guts of, hey, I want a Colorado lottery. So.